with liberty and justice for all.
Let us please remain standing and think about Virginia Menschner, our long-time village clerk, who has passed away, to a dedication to this village for over 60 years and a commitment and love for this village. So please take a minute and let's think about Virginia and all she gave to this village. Thank you. And it is kind of sort of appropriate that the fire whistle is blowing. She was a volunteer, honorary battalion chief.
She was.
That's Virginia. Thank you. Okay, the upcoming village board meetings. The village board workshop meeting will be Tuesday, November 27th at 7 p.m. And a reorganization meeting immediately followed by the village board meeting will be Monday, December 3rd at 7 p.m. Also, I would like to call up Miss Kathy Mills. So changing the agenda. Kathy, can you take over, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much. And at this time, I would like to actually call up Chief Osborne for a little surprise, which he has not heard about as of yet. Chief Osborne, you want to come on up?
Thank you.
So Chief Osborne, we were reached in Village Hall by one of our special residents for doing something, for trying to reach you, for doing something very special for her. So she is here tonight, and she would like to present something to you. I'll let her come up and introduce herself and tell your story of why you'd like to see Chief Osborne tonight. You're welcome to come on up.
So good evening, everyone. I want to thank the board and Kathy for working with me on this. I'll begin by telling you just briefly who I am and why I'm here tonight, while the chief is surprised and standing next to me. So in short, to begin, I am the governor's director of Italian-American affairs. So what that means is my job is to liaison on the governor's behalf with the Italian community throughout the entire state of New York. So that keeps me busy, of course. But more importantly, for tonight, I'm also a longtime village resident. I was born at Good Sam. I was raised here in town, went to Suffern High, go Mounties, and aside from just a few brief years in different cities, I've lived here my whole life. So what brings us here tonight is in February, I was married, and I got married here at Sacred Heart Church. And as someone of Southern Italian ancestry, we're very proud Italian Americans. It's a Southern Italian tradition to have the bride walk from her home to the church on her wedding day. So this was very important to us that we do this. And growing up, it was doubly important because my father passed away by the time I got married. And growing up, I remember, because we lived right here by Avon, so he would always say to me, when you get married, you're gonna walk to the church. When you get married, you're gonna walk to the church. So, my mom's here. She's gonna make me tear up. So it was very important, and the Suffern Police Department was so helpful. They generously blocked off traffic and guided us to the church, and those pictures are my favorite pictures of the day. And it really, I knew it was important to me and my family, but as we were doing it and then in reflection, I just couldn't have imagined the day without that. So I'm just here to thank you myself, on behalf of myself, my husband, and my family, and our friends. And also, I, of course, got married, and I told the governor about it. And so I'm also here with a special gift from the governor, because he wants to thank you himself
Thank you. It was very nice of you.
And what I have here is a letter from the governor that I'm going to present to you. And it's this is a picture of the day. This is one of your officers. And a letter, from the governor. And I'm just going to read briefly from the letter because I think the police department here really deserves to be honored in this way. You all can hear me, right, without me leaning into the mic? Okay, that's the Italian genes. Okay, so the letter says, Dear members of the Suffern Police Department, I would like to extend special thanks for your above and beyond efforts that helped make Dolores Alfieri's wedding such a memorable day. In Southern Italian culture, momentous lifetime events are built upon beautiful traditions that have existed for centuries. They are important not only for families in the homeland, but for those here in America. As my Director of Italian-American Affairs, helping to celebrate Italian culture is a large part of what Dolores is tasked to do. She and her family have a strong love for their Italian heritage and proudly uphold the customs and ways of life in southern Italy where their ancestry is rooted. The walk to church for the wedding mass is an important part of a traditional wedding, and your law enforcement community went above and beyond in channeling traffic to make this ceremonial event possible. Along with Dolores, her family and friends who were part of the procession, I would like to acknowledge the courtesy you showed in helping to make the day a tremendous success. Warmest regards and best wishes to your entire department. Sincerely, Governor Andrew M. Cuomo.
Thank you so much. That was very nice of you.
Thank you.
I just want to really thank you for this honor. I remember the day. I remember I came down my office, I was off duty, and I remember the day very well, and it was the least we could do. And I have an Irish last name, Osborne, but I have a Sicilian mother.
So I understand
some Italian customs, and we're very proud, and I want to thank you and the governor, thank you for this honor. And I really appreciate it. This is totally a surprise. The mayor just told me downstairs, she goes, we have their hockey games going, so I ran off the rink with the kids, and he goes, you gotta get in a minute. My first thought is, what just happened? Then he goes, no, it's calm, so I really want to thank you. This is fantastic.
How nice. Everybody helped to make it a surprise, and I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And we also, before we part, we brought some what we call bomboniere. So that's the gift that you give in an Italian wedding. It's a really big part of the wedding. You can have a gorgeous wedding, and if your bomboniere isn't nice, everybody leaves saying it was terrible. So we put a lot of thought into it, and we have one for you and one for each of your officers who was there for us as our
Thank you so
gift.
much. I know exactly
Say
where
thank
they
you.
went.
Okay, thanks again.
Thanks for thinking.
I really
I'll just get a nice picture together, the three of you.
Nice way to start the meeting.
My husband.
He started it, but
Can you fit us all? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you. And let me give you the gift.
Thank you, Mayor Board. I appreciate the support. Thanks for thinking of us.
Thank you. And here's the bomboniere. They're a little heavy because
We'll take care of it.
the mother and bride went overboard, but they're beautiful. And
Thank you for that very much. Very thoughtful of you.
Very good, thank you. Thank you very much. Anytime.
That's the thing.
Only here in Suffern. So we'll continue on with the meeting. I see that Mr. Paul Gerard is in the audience along with Mr. Steve Alpert. And I just wanted to initially open the meeting and build on my congratulatory calls this morning with Mr. Gerard and Mr. Alpert. And once again, congratulate them on their win. Good job, guys. I also want to take the opportunity to reinforce how the future board must work together in a bipartisan way to continue building on the village's successes. So I look forward to it, and once again, congratulations and thank you. Okay, it is 7:11. I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing, continuation of the public hearing to consider a local law to define the permitted uses of pods and/or dumpsters. I have a motion?
Motion.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Magrino.
Thank you. Good evening, Board, and I feel it appropriate that I file as an Italian-American, also from southern Italy, not me personally, but my family, to follow that.
But
that
did the
nice,
chief walk
ceremony.
you to the church?
She did, yeah, no. Maybe next time. Maybe my next wedding. There won't be another one. This isn't recorded, right?
You do know this is
Okay.
on TV.
Moving on. I presented the proposed local law to the board for basically a final consideration of just a couple of items. This, again, for everyone here, is with respect to the pods and dumpsters, and the couple of issues that I mentioned at the workshop that, I need guidance from the board before we go for final, basically at the next meeting. At this point, for temporary storage containers, the plan was to say that a permit for a temporary storage container would be required after one is in place for a total of more than 14 days in any 180-day period. So as we said before, it would be, 2 weeks. And if it was going to be longer than 2 weeks, a person would have to apply for a permit, and you could get a permit for 30 days thereafter. After that 30-day period, a person could apply, this is subdivision 3, a person could apply for another permit for an additional 180 days, provided that they have a valid and existing building permit for construction activities at the property. And again, that was partly in discussion with the building department for folks who may be doing work at their house and need, the use of a pod. And that would be the 6 months. Again, I put the 180 days in bold because it's a policy decision for the board. You want to make that 180, you want to make that 90, that's your call. And I'd ask for that guidance on that tonight. And then the one other question I had was, I think Mr. Kraushaar brought up about permits being issued only to property owners. I suggest maybe or lawful tenants of a property. I don't know that we want to restrict it just to someone who owns it. If somebody has a valid lease, there may be a legal challenge to treat a property owner different than a lawful tenant. So my recommendation would be to leave that, but again, that's a policy decision. And then down below, in terms of dumpsters, it's similar. Person would get a, 14, that somebody just puts a dumpster for 14 days if they're doing work. They wouldn't need a permit. Beyond that, they would be required to get a permit, which would allow them to have a dumpster for 90 days. Again, that might be something to discuss. The only difference between the dumpster and the pod aspect of this law would be, and again, Mr. Ortiz from the building department is here, currently dumpsters, if you have a valid building permit to do work at your house, it's monitored, and the work is monitored by the building department, so they don't have a problem with allowing a person to have a dumpster for the duration of the work at the house. It helps move things along. Again, that's something we could ask the building department, but I'm looking for guidance from the board in terms of what their inclination is on that. So those are really the two areas, the 180 days on the pod, and then whether or not you're okay with the dumpster, provided you have a building permit.
Okay. Randy, do you have any input or guidance for the board in regards to the time frame? Recommendations?
Not really, but I mean, it's really a decision you folks have to make. But I could tell you that, for example, there's been one pod on Riverside Drive for 6 months currently in somebody's front yard. that's been there for 6 months and there's no construction going on in that, at the house whatsoever. So, I mean, that's the kind of thing that we're dealing with.
Do you feel that the 180-day period would be too lengthy? That's during construction.
The pods can be picked up and somebody can load, if you're doing construction at a house and you need to put something in a storage container, those pods can be picked up and taken off-site to be stored.
Right.
So it's just something to keep in mind of how you want to use the pod. Do you want to have the pod sitting in somebody's yard, or do you fill up the pod and say take it to a storage place and bring it back when the construction's done? You know, prior to 5 or 6 years ago, when these pods appeared, people would go to a storage unit in Mawa and put their stuff into a storage unit if they were doing construction at their house. So this is a whole new, way of doing things.
Okay. And the building permit in regards to the dumpster seems acceptable.
Yes.
I mean, to me, if you have an open building permit and you're doing construction on the house.
If you have an open building permit, the only thing I might add to that is if there's active construction going on, because somebody could have a building permit for a year.
It's in there.
Okay, sorry.
Right, active.
Active permit or active construction?
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
Active permit?
That's been issued for construction and demo activity.
Right, because because I may just add to that, I could take a building permit out for a property and not need the dumpster, get my demolition done, and the dumpster can still sit there now for another 8 months. I really think that in there should be active work going on at the house. Even though there's an active building permit, there should be active work going on where they need the dumpster.
Okay, so you're saying as long as there's active construction.
And I would recommend adding a definition of active construction. Or whatever word.
Because you could also extend that building permit for another year. So.
Okay, any other questions? Anyone from the public would like to speak on regards to pods or dumpsters? Okay, so we're continuing to review this draft. We're going to make a motion to close the public hearing, continue the public hearing until
December 3rd.
December 3rd.
All right, and just so we're clear, I'm going to leave as is, maybe with that one change, or maybe touch that change a little bit, then circulate it.
Right.
If we make a minor change in terms of days at the public hearing, at the next one, we don't have to continue it. In other words, if you decide you want less than 180 days,
Right.
we can make that change as part of the public hearing without having to go through a separate public hearing on it. In other words, adjourning it.
Adjourn the hearing tonight?
Correct.
Adjourn or close?
No, I'm asking that this be adjourned
Okay, that's what we're talking
to
about.
December.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, before the next meeting, I will circulate to the board members and
that they
the clerk's
can vote
office and
on
the
it.
public, so it can be
they'll have
reviewed,
more than 7
so the
days
board could
before.
vote on it in December. What I'm saying is, even if there's a minor change at that December meeting, you could still vote on it, because it would be basically a minor change.
Okay. So I have a motion to adjourn.
Continue. Motion to continue the public hearing with regard to pods and dumpsters to December 3rd, 2018. My recommendation would be 7:30.
7:30, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
next item on the agenda is also a public hearing with regard to considering a local law to establish a school zone signage on Suffern Place at the Ikra Darul Hassan Mosque. Iman, did you get the documentation that is required by New York State yet?
I've met with the Suffern School Board, and I've also had, over the last month, several discussions with Albany in trying to get everything squared away as far as the beds number is concerned. We have submitted our syllabus, which was already approved, and also we have all the required insurance certification that was required from New York State. So it's a matter of time that we will get the beds number that would declare it a school, a valid school. First of all, I wanted to apologize. Obviously, I don't have the Southern Italian heritage, but I hope you guys accept me here. I am married to an Italian.
All right, so my recommendation to the board, you think you'll have it
I'm,
by
it's
the
now,
3rd,
it's
or?
in the hands of the bureaucracy at this time, so
Okay,
it should be done as fast as we can move. We have submitted everything.
All right, I'm going to make a recommendation that we adjourn it without date, because we don't know. At the reorg, typically, we come up with a calendar. That's one of the items that we deal with, of future meeting dates.
But if I may, and I understand, I'm sorry to cut you off, but we still have a situation which creates a traffic volume on
Agreed,
Suffern Place.
but we can't do it until you get that certificate. All right, here's what we'll do. Just so that we don't have to re-advertise it. Yeah. Number one, as Mayor accurately mentions, someone needs to make a motion to open the public hearing.
We have a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open the public.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Hearing is open. I'm going to make a recommendation so that we don't have to re-advertise it and incur the costs of it, to ask that someone make a motion to continue the public hearing to December 3rd, 2018 at 7:35 p.m. with regard to establishing school zone signage at Suffern Place.
Do I have a motion?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passed.
I just want to say one thing, that we had a lot of cooperation from the mayor's office, especially with Amy Paffenroth and Chief Osborne, and I understand a lot now that his mother was from Sicily, so that makes a lot of sense now, a lot of things. But and I understand that we want to address this in December, but at the same time, I will also say this and reiterate it. We're getting a lot of kids from our after-school program. We're getting a lot of kids from East Roundville School District. The traffic volume is a concern. Outside of the school status situation, the traffic on Suffern Place, because there is a house of worship there, and I've been involved in this for the last 20 years, it is a concern, including the approach to B lot from Suffern Place, and we've had numerous discussions about that, so please also keep that in mind, that that's in conjunction with our concern on the high volume in Suffern Place. Thank you.
Thank you. Fire Department Chief.
Which chief?
Chief Ortiz.
We skipped a turn.
Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped the attorney. All right, go ahead, Chief. He'll go next.
Update, all's good. Ask the board to accept a new hook and ladder member, Manuel Lopez, into their ranks.
Do I have a motion to accept Emmanuel Lopez over 18 to the Hook and Ladder Company? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
And second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Conference.
You guys know I'm not good at this, I gotta get coached. I'd like to ask permission from the village to take, for two separate holiday Christmas parades. One is for the hose company to take a engine to the Orangeburg Christmas Parade on December 8th, and the other is authorization for the Hook and Ladder to take a truck to the Wallington Christmas Parade in New Jersey on November 24th.
Okay, so the resolution authorizing a hose company fire truck to participate in the Orangeburg Christmas Parade to be held on December 8, 2018. Have a motion?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Next is the resolution authorizing the Hook and Ladder fire truck to participate in the Wallington, New Jersey Christmas Parade to be held November 24th, 2018. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
A second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Next, we have an update on the truck committee for the new engine. They're meeting pretty much once a week, and right now they're in the process of just visiting neighboring fire departments who have recently purchased apparatus and kind of getting a feel for what's out there right now and how things are getting set up, and take it so they can take it into account how we're going to set this one up.
Okay. Great.
So there's,
You're doing good.
okay. Next, the Hook and Ladder and Hose Company floor repairs. Have you guys gotten the Hook and Ladder ones? I know that was a little more recent. The
Yes, I
reports.
believe so. We need further discussion on that.
From me?
Right now?
I don't know.
No.
Okay. Just says update, that's an update.
Okay,
That's
perfect.
it. I just also want to thank the board and all the village residents that came out and voted in favor of the increase in the service awards program. It's a great thing for, keep volunteers around longer. And, yeah, thanks, everybody.
Great, great, thank you. Good job. Mr. Kraushaar, I'm sorry.
Mr. Ortiz actually provided the perfect segue into what I'm about to propose for the board's consideration. It's a resolution to extend the Penflex Inc. as third-party administrator of the village's LoSAP program from November 1st, 2018, obviously that will be nunc-pro-tunc, to October 31st, 2019. The sum and substance of the resolution is that the new service fee agreement will be for an annual sum of $3,600 and a per participant fee of $18 with an optional LoSAP disclosure audit package fee of $495. And through this resolution, you'd be also authorizing the mayor to sign that agreement on behalf of the village board. Once again, nunc-pro-tunc.
The resolution to extend Penflex Inc. as third-party administrator of the village LoSAP program from November 1st, 2018 to October 31st, 2019. Have a motion?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Culture and Recreation, Ms. Mills.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Village Board. A few updates that I have for Recreation. We have Arts and Crafts this Friday, November 9th. We have a local resident helping us out with an art craft, and Fran McInerney will be doing a cornucopia craft with our seniors and other residents on the 9th, and also doing Christmas wreaths So we have 4 openings, if anyone is interested in attending, for 4 openings for an 11:30 class and 4 openings for the 1:30 class. But Fran, again, is one of our local residents. When she was with Colonial Florist, she donated a lot of items to us for arts and crafts, and she's kind enough to come back and help us do them this Friday. So it's going to be a nice craft for people to come out and have fun and make some nice things for their house for the holidays. So that's Friday the 9th upstairs in the community room. And then we have Artie Time will be on November 15th at the community center. One of our wellness programs, Move with Debbie, will be on November 14th and the 28th over at the community center. Nancy Christopher, who's running the wellness program, is doing a great job getting people in, getting programs that people have been asking for, and this program is something that we think will be a nice hit, so we're looking forward to that. That will be on the 14th and the 28th at the community center. We are working with a lot of groups trying to get activities for the younger generation, the younger groups. So we're working with Young Life, and they are bringing dodgeball into the community center on November 8th and the 13th at 7 p.m. at the community center. So tomorrow is the 8th, so if you're interested in playing dodgeball, anyone, go on over to the community center. And then our upcoming Veterans Day Parade will be November 11th, which is a Sunday. This year, the change is at 3 p.m. rather than at 11. We're lining up here at Village Hall. And new this year, we are excited to announce that we're having the 42nd ID Infantry Division Band at our parade. So it's going to be a nice showing for the Village of Suffern. So, Mayor, it's great that you worked with them, and Eric, I see in our audience, is here, and we're excited to have them and join us at the parade this year.
Thank you.
The Dare Dance is coming up Friday, November 16th at the Community Center between 7 and 9. Clifford Theater will be performing Broadway Jukebox, and that's a new program for Clifford Theater. The director wanted to reach students on the off-season, so they're going to be 24 groups that are going to be here on stage doing their favorite song and just singing to music. I saw it the other night. It's a really nice program, so if you're here around here on the 16th, come on over to Village Hall. Connors School is using the community center for a craft fair on Saturday, November 17th, at the community center between 11 and 4. The Christmas parade, believe it or not, we're not into Thanksgiving yet, but already on our Christmas parade, will be December 1st. And we're working together. We're meeting tomorrow to discuss more of the Christmas parade, but it's coming along fantastic. We're getting ready, and the Village of Suffern is going to be very filled up on December 1st. We have the Pearl Harbor ceremony on Sunday, December 2nd at 2 p.m. here in the auditorium. And that is it for my upcoming events. One thing that we spoke about at the workshop, if I can ask for approval for tonight, for November 13th, for Nancy Christopher and myself to attend the Downstate Recreation Conference in White Plains. So that would be at a cost of $85 per registration, and we would drive over there to stay for the day and then come back.
Okay, so I have the resolution authorizing Kathy Mills and Nancy Christopher to attend the Downstate Recreation Conference on November 13th, 2018. I have a motion? Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, you guys are doing a great job, and thank you. Actually, one of our band members from the 42nd Infantry Division Band is here, Eric Cudworth. He's a local resident. It's an interesting story in regards to the 42nd ID. The Rainbow Division, you can correct me if I'm wrong, their insignia on their uniform is actually a half a rainbow due to the fact that their division, half the division was lost during World War II. So it's a great honor, and thank you for joining us on Veterans Day. Thank you for your service.
And I also wanted to add, Gina, it's been a pleasure working with you. I'm going to miss you, and I thank you for all your service with us.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. As she mentioned, Gina, as you can see, Joe is not here. Joe had an operation on Monday. He's okay, and he won't be returning, but he's okay. Okay. Chief, the Police Department.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, thank you, Mayor and Board. Before I start, I just have several informational items for you to keep you updated with some of the happenings in our department. Gina, it's been a pleasure working with you. I'm sure I'm going to see you in town. I see you all the time before you were in office. I'm sure I'm going to see you now, so it'll be great still seeing you, and I wish you the best of luck, and thank you for your support. And welcome aboard, Paul and Steve. They'll be joining us very soon. We'll look forward to working with you guys as well. And thanks to all of you for jumping into public service. I know it's not easy doing this. Just a couple updated items. We are working with several businesses, some of them large, and houses of worship, on how to respond to critical incidents. We've been doing this for a while. It's gotten pretty involved in a good way. We've been doing site assessments of some of the churches, some of the other locations here throughout the village. It's going great. Our first responder day went excellent. Thank you guys for coming down. We did have a SWAT call out, which I know the mayor responded up there with me, on Parkside Drive a few weeks ago. Call came in. It was a weeknight, and we had a report of an armed, barricaded suspect, and who we believe was suicidal. We did call out our SWAT team. We are part of a regional SWAT team of 7 departments, which I chair for the county, and the SWAT team, which is actually called REACT, which is Regional Entry and Counterterrorism Team, responded up, and fortunately we brought the incident to a quick ending thanks to the SWAT team and the assistance of the Mahwah, New Jersey police, who sent several officers up as we went on the border. So that went fantastic, good ending. As Kathy said, the Christmas parade, meeting tomorrow, to the mayor with Kathy and Charles, your crew comes up there, and that is a lot of work for everybody, but I'll tell you, it's going to be well worth it this year. I think everybody is going to enjoy it. Am I correct? It's getting bigger every day. Kathy and I communicate every day about it. So it's going awesome. Our toy drive has kicked into gear, and just to give you a background on that, we started the toy drive through the police department because as police officers, we are exposed to many situations throughout the village, which most people probably wouldn't have any idea of things that exist in the village and some of the situations people get into. I work with the school system, social workers, churches, organizations throughout the area. Started out very small 28 years ago. It is now a very massive entity with over 100 volunteers, and we're going to kick it in high gear starting this week. And one thing I cited, and I met last week with Amy and Teresa, in regards to Suffern Place, even though it's not a designated school area, I will definitely look into the safety issues you have, because they're legit. Suffern Place has been used as we talked, Amy and I talked last week, as a cut through down Suffern Place through the B-Lot up Chestnut. We're seeing a lot of it to avoid the traffic lights. So we're going to start looking at some traffic control measures besides the fact of schools, and I think it's just something that should be looked at. Because I was over, I see, today with Forgia, walking over there, there is a lot of traffic going down there, and some of it, I think, is traveling pretty fast to try to beat the lights and get through quickly.
Okay.
So, and that's it. I'll be here for the duration, and thank you very much for setting up. I had no idea. I do remember that day because I remember we received a call from that family because they were concerned the father had recently passed away and they wanted to keep the Italian tradition. And we set it up for them, did a surprise to that. They didn't realize it was going to happen until right before it. And I thank you guys because I had no idea. I haven't seen her since that day. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fred Rella, where is he?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Every year in the spring, I guess late winter, usually January, February, or March, we put in for the Community Development Block Grant. And in order to be able to put in for that grant, you have to go to a number of meetings, training sessions, and they're all mandatory. And also one of the things that we have to do is to develop a citizen advisory committee, which is made up of a cross-section of residents within the municipality. For example, they want like a renter, a homeowner, a business owner, a minority, and et cetera. So, and then what we do on the Citizen Advisory Committee is we explore varying programs that, opportunities which we would like to put a grant in for. And then we present that to the board, and then the board votes on it, and then I put together the application and submit it in January, February, or March. That date's not determined yet. So this year, the committee that's being proposed is the same committee as last year, and it's made up of Ernie Bosco, Francis Glick, Dina Schmidt, Charlie Rogers, and Kathy Van Sickle. So we'll just need you to confirm it via resolution, and then I can get it over to the county.
Okay, so I have the resolution, appointments to the 2019 Program Year Committee Citizens Advisory Board. Be resolved, the mayor confirms the appointment of the following members to the 2019 Year Citizens Advisory Committee: Ernie Bosco, Francis Glick, Dina Schmidt, Charles Rogers, and Kathy Van Sickle. Have a motion?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, motion passes.
And then just on the good news, not always expensing money within the municipality, but actually receiving money
There
on the
you go.
grant side, is that I've mentioned that I was working with Assemblywoman Ellen Jaffe's office and also her chief of staff, Rose Gabrielle. And we put in for working with her and trying to get money from the state for a backhoe with a estimated cost of $150,000 to replace a backhoe that's about 15, 20 years old and continue need of expensive repairs. And then also for parking lot B repaving. That cost approximately $175,000, and we received a partial grant for that of $70,250 to CDBG monies. So I was putting in for the additional funding to make up that variance between $70,000 and $175,000 with Ms. Jaffe. So I'm happy to say that we're got two grants in the amount of, which combined $240,000, $125,000 for the backhoe, and $115,000 for the paving of parking lot B. It's going to take a couple months to get all the contracts together and everything, so really all of this is going to be occurring in 2019, but worked out very well.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you.
This time, I'd like to open the meeting up to audience participation. Is there anyone from the audience? Please state your name and address.
Joseph Maraglino, Italian, 65 Wayne Avenue. First of all, I'd like to thank people. When Wayne Avenue was paved and they made it a single lane, what a quantum leap as far as people slowing down and driving like normal people again. Taking those two lanes away was essential. And I'd just like to say thank you to start that off.
I didn't think we'd be seeing you anymore after they did.
Yeah, I know. You know, when you're pacified, you don't come out sometimes. But I do have a couple questions. Speaking of Wayne Avenue, I know we keep discussing about this retaining wall in front of 50 Wayne, and I haven't been here for a while. And, you know, it's, they put the cart before the horse. I know they paid before they wanted to do the sidewalks, you know. So the retaining wall issue, did anybody hear anything about in the future, what they're going to do? Are they going to start doing work in the spring? Are they still doing environmental reviews? Anything like that?
Do you have, Fred, yes, there you go.
I think what we're talking about is the paving of, not the paving.
Sidewalk.
Putting of a sidewalk on the north side of Wayne Avenue, from Orange Avenue all the way up to the thruway. And there's an existing sidewalk there. A lot of it's cracked, crumbled, and just in disrepair. And then there's a section that also does not even have a sidewalk whatsoever. There's also, on the western, I guess the eastern side of that, there's the apartment building where the stairs come directly down onto Wayne Avenue, and a lady about 3-4 years ago was actually killed crossing the street. So anyway, we received CD, that cost about $325,000 for that project to do that sidewalk and the retaining wall. And there had to be an environmental study if you're putting in a sidewalk where no sidewalk existed before, okay? And that study had to be conducted by the county. So the county oversaw that. They had to get a vendor. It took months and months and months. So the environmental study was done. It did pass, but then it had to be ratified by the by the county, and there had to be public hearings held. And now they applied to FEMA to actually have the money come to Rockland County. So the project is actually going to be shoveled in the ground in the spring of 2019.
Thank you, Fred.
Yeah, that's great news to hear. We waited a long time for this. It's nice to see things falling back
It takes
together.
time.
I know it does. You gotta be very patient. The other question being, they gotta start building at 15 Washington Avenue. Did they get approval to put a building up there as far as condominium or rental units?
Yes, on Washington.
Okay, do you know when they're gonna break ground for that?
No, I don't.
Okay. Other than that, Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Maxine Simon, and I live in Bon Air, and I'm a member of the Bon Air Council. And firstly, I want to thank the mayor for donating 4 mum plants that we were able to plant at the beginning of Bon Air. It was very generous of you. We had gone down to talk to the mayor about the entrance to Bon Air because approximately a year and a half ago, one car knocked down the 2 brick stanchions on either side of the entry to Bon Air. And initially, from the initial meeting, we realized that the insurance company had only reimbursed the village for one of those stanchions. When we brought it to the village's attention, they went after the insurance company, and we were reimbursed for the village was reimbursed for the second stanchion. So there was a total of approximately $20,000 of insurance money. In order to replace those 2 signs, the Bon Air Council went to a sign company. We searched around, and we found a sign company that did some beautiful mock-ups for us of for the entrance to Bon Air, duplicate signs on either side of the entrance, and we submitted those plans to the village. Those plans were accepted. It will look beautiful, and we talked to the mayor about having river rock put around the bottom and having solar lights go up on the top so that the entrance to Bon Air was nice. Because there are approximately 1,500 families between Bon Air and Stonegate. And when you go into an area initially, the first thing you see is the entrance. So it's really important that that entrance reflect the area. The area is made up of beautiful condominiums, beautiful co-ops, townhouses, pool, tennis courts. It's a lovely area which houses, I hate to say it, a lot of voters. And we've been dealing with these knockdown stanchions and weeds and dead bushes, et cetera, et cetera. So a friend of mine and myself, initially, we went up there and we cleaned it up just ourselves. And the mayor, we brought this to the mayor's attention because we live there, I live there, and it was really hard for me to come home every day and see kind of the messy entrance. But anyhow, be that as it may, the cost of the 2 new signs, which the town has the mock-ups, is $9,000. That gives us an $11,000 balance. Out of the $11,000 would come the cost of the river rock and the cost of the 4 solar lights. We'd like 2 on each side. That gives us a balance of approximately $10,000, which we would like to apply to cleaning up those 3 areas as you enter into Bon Air. There's a circular area, then there's a long area, because I can only do so much weeding. I'm getting older, I can't bend over that much anymore, so I can only dig up the weeds so long. And then there's a secondary area, the 3rd area, which has never been touched, because I really don't have the strength to do that myself. So we would like the additional money from the insurance company to be allocated to the beautification of the entrance to Bon Air. It is insurance money, and it was for the entrance of Bon Air.
Okay, so I guess we're going to have to discuss that and the total funds that were available. And Charles, can you speak to the point of the entranceway and what could be done at that entranceway in Bon Air? I know that we spoke to Joe and we put down I think we put down the black cloth and mulch. No black cloth, just the mulch.
No.
In the spring.
In the spring, last spring, you might have put down some mulch, but all the weeds are coming through because the underneath part is inappropriate. So it's like throwing good money after bad money. If you address it appropriately by putting down the black plastic, okay? I used to be in the plant business, so I'm aware of all this. So if you put down the black plastic and then you plant things accordingly, you won't have all those weeds coming up. So the amount of labor that you would have to extend there would be diminished. This is like constantly throwing good money after bad money, the way it's being done right now. Sorry.
That's okay.
But it can be done better. The entrance is very important to 1,500 families, and we just would like to all be on the same page.
Okay.
Well, Joe Hunt and myself did meet, it was about 3 weeks or so ago. We met 2 young ladies, and we discussed what we're going to do in terms of signage and in terms of the timing. And it was also discussed that we would look at seeing what could be done there. So the idea did come up that I think they asked about what would be where the extra funds would end up going, and the idea of coming in and planting some additional shrubs and so on and so forth was discussed. It is a big area. There's a lot of pine trees there. You get a lot of the needles coming down. So we would have to look at specifically how we could try to minimize the amount of work that's required to maintain that. So it'd be some of the stuff that we maybe can plant some additional shrubs, maybe put some rock down.
I think the main concern also is in regards to the plastic and the weed growth coming up. So I don't know too much about how to do that.
Well, what we'd probably do is utilize a landscape fabric material, and that could be done.
So is that something that could be done, should be done now, or should be done in the spring?
We're going to get frost in the next week and a half, most likely. The weeds are going to die.
I killed them.
Okay.
You did spray, you told me that, you're right.
Okay, so I think if we could maybe get together and discuss a plan for the spring might be a good idea.
That's what I would recommend, trying to work together.
And then at that time,
as we said, and meet, and then put a plan together, an action plan.
And at that point, the signage will be up as well.
Okay. So Ms. Simon, does Charles have your contact info that we can?
I don't know if he does, but I need to share with you that if it's done right once, it will cost you less in the long run.
We need your input because you seem to have that knowledge base.
I have no problem volunteering my
Okay.
time and expertise, but when you send up 6 or 8 guys who don't know what they're doing, it's like a waste of money, an absolute waste of money. And as far as the pine needles are concerned, they're fine. Don't take down pine trees. They're fine, okay? It's just part of the ecosystem that goes on. So that's not an issue. It's just the generalized approach to the entrance of Bon Air that would be consistent with the beautification of the village.
Okay, sounds good to me.
All right, thank
All right, so we'll work together and we'll put a plan together with Charles or Joe, and Joe.
My name is Debbie Frank. I live in Sussex 5. Which one do you live in Bon Air?
Sussex 3 in Bon Air.
Okay. About sometime this year, you changed garbage companies, as crazy as this sounds. Okay, we used to have 2 dumpsters, which I had no problem lifting. About a month ago, I had 3 stitches because it came down on me. When it's trying to come down on me, this hand tore ligaments, I'm sorry. And I called my manager. He said we had to come down to the board because you're the one. They wouldn't speak to me at Morangi when I called them. The average woman in my development, we can't even get it open. Not
The lid of the garbage,
Right,
the dumpster?
They put in a very high dumpster, just one instead of smaller
ones. The lid weighs more than I do. I can't walk around with a stepladder every day to dump my garbage.
No.
And so they said, and when we had our meeting, if we could have back the 2 smaller ones that we had, it was fine.
Charles, do we have any input on that, on garbage containers from Morangi, something that's more easily accessible?
I do know that in some locations, I'm not sure in this particular corral, they did add a large container. It might be as large as 6 cubic yards.
It's very tall and the height of it and the weight of it lid is.
What corral is it?
Right by Kenny, so it's about 83 Somerset in the back of it. I don't know that number.
All right, well, if you want, I can meet you tomorrow
All
or
right,
something.
that would be great.
What we can do is, get together with Morangi and we'll swap it out for a multiple smaller.
She had to get stitches because it came down her hand.
Okay. Yeah, well, they'll work with us. They worked with us in the past, and they'll make that request. They'll change.
So you guys will speak tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm sorry. The only potential problem is that space. Sometimes we're confined, we're restricted with the space. Okay, so if there's enough space, we should be able to swap them out. Get smaller. Okay. Yeah, you want to...
Yeah, you can exchange information, and he'll be in touch with you tomorrow. Thank you. I'm sorry that happened to your hand. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? Okay.
My name's Eric Cudworth. I live at 7 Clinton Place, right around the corner. Chief, if you are going to be looking at Suffern Place as far as people cutting through to avoid the traffic light, please take the time to look at Clinton Place. They go up Washington, cut through Clinton to avoid the traffic light in Lafayette.
Oh, I understand the several choke points that they try.
Yeah, and especially, I'm right across the street from the school, and those balls go into the street, and my fear is that a kid would run out and get hit by a car. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else? Mr. McEnany.
Hi, Tim McInerney. I live at 8 Pavilion Road. I'm actually here for the VFW. I want to be able to, I would like to thank the board. They spent a lot of time with me in getting a lot of the monuments done. I'd like to report that Pat and I were in there and we actually signed off for the plaques to be done the right way.
Great.
So what's going to happen is they're going to be delivered December 7th. They should be put in. All the piping, very similar to what you have out here, has already been completed at Memorial Drive. We're just waiting for the benches so that it'll be done. The same with Point Park. I'd like to make a statement on it. For a long time, Dave Clifford and I used to sit in the back. Dave Clifford was a resident. He passed away in August. He was 83 and a half. He came from this village, fought in the Korean War. His dad fought in World War I. His father signed the charter for our VFW hall. What I'd like to do is, I'd like to ask the board if the park on the Point Park, which actually has no name that we've been looking at for the last 2 months, I'd like to know if you would dedicate it to like Dave Clark Memorial Park. Down in this park, you have the field piece that's in there. He was part of this in '98 when we were doing the post that the former mayor wanted that put there. So the way that Dave was able to do it was they gave it to the village, to the whole Suffern residents, not just to the mayor or anybody else, so that it would be put there. And that way then, they knew that it could never be moved unless you have a referendum. So I just figured he put a lot of time into this. I'm trying to do the projects, and it gets me. He was a good guy, and I know my voice cracks. But that's what I want. I would like to have you guys, if you can, do this. I'm sorry to see you go. The only other two things I have, and I wanted to thank Amy especially, was for these two monuments that we're putting in. Amy was able to give us 6 different versions of how to do it for the words, and it really came out nice. And when you see the stones, when they're in there, it's done quite elegantly. Thank you. So.
Well, thank you. Yes, so the consideration of the park we'll have to discuss in with the attorney, with the legal department, and we'll definitely explore that. I think it's a great idea, since Dave was an integral part of this community along with his family, and even dating back into World War I. I mean, it would really be a true honor to memorialize his name in this village. Let us continue to work together as we've been.
All right.
And we'll work together and try to get that done. Absolutely.
Thank you.
I want to thank you because you've been doing a great job here in the village, and Pat in the back also is always helpful, along with the VFW and the American Legion. Keep up the good work.
Paul Gerard, 2 Cross Street. Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you for your kind words at the beginning of the meeting. Congratulations, I appreciate that, and I look forward to working with everybody on the board going forward. And thank you to Gina and Joe, who's not here, and the rest of the board. There were a couple things that came up since the last meeting that occurred, and they became campaign issues, and I just wanted to stress the importance of them because I think they mean a lot to the residents. And the reason I ran and I'm looking forward to joining the board is because I want to represent the residents. I really feel like that's the reason we're here, and that's, if you mentioned partisan, those are the only people I'm partisan to, is the residents of this village. One of the things that came up was unscheduled meetings and emergency meetings, and I just think, and I don't want to be confrontational about this. I just want to bring it up as a topic that I think that we need to discuss going forward and make sure that we understand the importance of that the village residents have a right to know when we're meeting, when the board is meeting, when there's, and to get advance notice. And I just want to make sure that that's a topic that's going to be on the board's agenda very soon. And to make sure that these, that we don't call a non-emergency an emergency. I know at the meeting that I'm talking about, which is on October 15th, we added there were other agenda items added to the meeting, which were not emergency items either, such as adopting a harassment policy. So I just want to make sure that we're careful on what meetings we call, when we call them, to make sure that as many board members are available and we give the proper notice to the public. Another area of that which kind of works along the lines of meetings is people making sure that we recognize any perceived conflict of interest. I know that during the campaign I was referenced as possibly being a bully by making this point, but all I'm saying is, again, for the residents' sake, if there's, and we can go back to past board members. I think Matt Byrne is a great example of somebody who's an attorney here who would regularly recuse himself from issues where he felt like there was a conflict because he had a client or another relationship. And I just want to make sure that, again, that we exercise that, and we ask ourselves, is there any reason why I would be perceived to have any bias whatsoever? So again, that's another thing I just think that the board should be looking at going forward. Another area, and I've talked to hundreds of residents over the past 2 months, and it's really scary how you see so many for sale signs out there. There's a lot of people that are just pushed to the brink financially and can't afford to live in the village anymore. And I want to do whatever I can, and I want our board and our mayor to do whatever they can to keep people here that want to live here, and they're not pushed out, for other reasons. But there's taxes have gone up quite a bit over the years here, and it's put a lot of people on the brink. And I feel like lately there's been a few examples where I think we have to question where we're spending our money, and also the perception of what we're doing with it. There was a Suffern newsletter that went out last week, which was the first of its kind. And I think the timing of it, well, first of all, I can't tell, it says October on it, I can't tell if this is going to be a monthly thing, a quarterly thing, a semi-annual thing. It's printed on very nice paper, a lot of colors, it's mailed to every single house. I think we need to be careful. I'm not saying we can't do these things, but there's more cost-effective means of communicating some of these things, but also the timing of it. It looks like a piece of campaign material, and I think we have to be very careful if residents start getting the perception that their taxpayer money is going to material that looks like campaign stuff. So it's just a watch out. I think that we all have to recognize, and I think people have to feel comfortable calling out when they see it. I would encourage everybody to call out anything at all like that, because I think we have the responsibility to the residents just to be very efficient in our spending. And the same thing goes with emails going out talking about again during campaign season where we are in terms of the shape we are in a fiscal manner. There are resources within the village clerk's office putting those emails together, and it just looks like campaign stuff. And I think we have to shy away from that stuff. I think the information is good to send out. We have to be sensitive to the timing of it, because it kind of looks like we're doing it for other reasons other than the best interest of the residents. I think that's all I have to say. I just want to point those out, but I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thanks very much.
Thank you, and congratulations again.
Can Michael speak to about what we're doing with the newsletter?
Right in there, but I know.
What's it called?
Waste my week.
About Friday's meeting?
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? No? Okay. Thank you. Let's see where we are. Okay, Office of the Village Clerk, I have let's see. I'm sorry. Treasurer, Mr. Janito, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. First off, thank you, Gina, for your service, and to Joe in his absence here, and congratulations, all, and Steve, and it's been great. It'll be great working with you all, and it's been great working with you and Joe, as usual. So anything that, as I've always stated, that you need to know about the finances of the village, as you know, come to me and I'll be more than happy to share it with you. A couple of good things here. First of all, we are moving along with our Office 365 purchase from Microsoft. This is going to coordinate all of the emails in the government cloud, which is secured, has retentions in accordance with federal, state, and local requirements, New York State requirements for retention and protection. And we're slowly doing that. The actual cost of it per user is approximately the same cost we're getting right now just for email. But with this, we'll not only have email, but we'll have the entire Office suite. And the most important thing about that is that it's in Microsoft's government cloud, which is separate and distinct from its commercial cloud, which makes it a very secure environment to have email and other documents going back and forth in. One other bit of good news, and this kind of goes with Fred Rella, I don't think has stayed around, but we got a phone call today from DASNY, a representative of the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York, advising us that we will be receiving a wire of $250,000 for the digester boiler in this sewer plant. That's a grant that we've been working for, and this is kind of a new one for us because DASNY has been famous for paying us years later. And this is going to be within 6 weeks of having the submission. So that's very
great.
positive, very good. What we have before you is a few resolutions. One of them is authorization to increase the capital project 2019-002, which is the 2019 roadway improvements. There was a minor amount that needed to be increased in that particular project to cover some additional work between two streets. And so we're asking that the board adopt that resolution.
Okay, so I have the resolution authorizing increase to the capital project 2019
002.
2019 roadway improvements. I have a motion.
Motion.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Okay. The second resolution is a settlement agreement with Verizon for utilities gross receipts. We had a consultant by the name of Computel that had done a research of all of the franchise fees that were paid to us to see if we were getting properly paid. This is one of those firms that we went out and got a couple of quotes from, different firms. This one was selected. And separate and distinct from the audits that they did for us, they did one statewide, and they found that Verizon owed several municipalities money, and so rather than go through a class action lawsuit, they decided on attempting a settlement, which they did. It's not a large amount of money, but it's $1,500, and we're asking that we have authorization to sign that settlement agreement and receive the $1,500.
So I have the resolution authorizing the mayor to sign a settlement agreement with Verizon for utilities gross receipt tax in the amount of $1,500. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next resolution is that the village uses a municipal advisor, a financial advisor, which is highly recommended in all cases because of the nature of the municipal markets. And as many other municipalities do, typically bond counsel and others depend on the municipal advisor's advice to the village in terms of the timing and authorization of bonding. And as a matter of fact, the Securities and Exchange Commission, not that long ago, passed a regulation that said anybody that provides municipal advice to the village other than one of its own officials, meaning the treasurer, has to be registered with the SEC to provide that advice and has to meet certain requirements. So ours does, and we've had them for many, many years. This is authorizing me to execute a municipal advisor services agreement with them to extend their period of time through May of 2019.
So I have the resolution authorizing the village treasurer to execute a municipal advisory service agreement. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Okay, and the last resolution before you is to declare certain computer equipment as surplus. The equipment is old and obsolete. This is basically old desktops, a few laptops, some printers, that sort of thing. And just so that you know, all of the hard drives have been removed from the equipment and will be destroyed to ensure the security of any information that may be on those hard drives. So we're asking that these be declared surplus, and then we will dispose of them in the best interest of the village, which may mean if we can find somebody willing to purchase them, that's fine. If not, dispose of them appropriately, as you must with any electronic equipment.
Okay, so I have the resolution to declare certain computer equipment as surplus as listed. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
And that's it for us. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good, thank you very much. Department of Public Works, Mr. Zawicki.
Good evening. Let's just provide an update on the roadway improvement Phase 9 project. Is essentially complete with the exception of the double yellow on Boulevard and the stop bars as required.
Were we able to look at that? Were we able to look at the manhole cover on Boulevard? I've received a
Yeah, I know
few
you mentioned,
more.
I haven't had a chance to follow up with that.
Yeah, other people have been complaining. It's like right in the travel lane or where the wheel goes, and it always hits in there, so I don't know.
Okay.
Take a look at that.
Definitely take a look.
Thank you.
I can take a look at that tomorrow. Am requesting the board to accept the resignation of Mr. Daniel Delante effective October 19th, 2018.
Have a resolution accepting the resignations of Daniel Delate, laborer, effective October 19, 2018, nunc pro tunc. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
I am requesting authorization for Mr. Stanley Dobrinsky and Mr. Eric Anderson to attend the Hudson Valley Waterworks Conference on Wednesday, November 14th, 2018, in Middletown, New York, at a cost of $30 per employee.
I have the resolution authorizing Stanley Dobrinsky and Eric Anderson to attend the Hudson Valley Waterworks Seminar, November 14th, 2018, in Middletown, New York. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I am requesting payment authorization for application of payment number 1 in the amount of $27,635 to Bella Vista Construction Corp. for the ADA ramp replacement that was part of the roadway improvement project.
So the resolution authorizing payment number 1 to Bella Vista Construction Corporation for the 2018 ADA ramp project in the amount of $27,675. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, motion passes.
I am requesting payment authorization for the application payment number 1 in the amount of $299,328.53 to Tilcon New York, Inc. for the roadway improvements Phase 9 project.
So the resolution authorizing payment number 1 to Tilcon, New York for roadway improvement Phase 9 project in the amount of $299,328.53. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I am requesting the mayor to appoint Mr. Thomas Martin to the vacant Street and Refuse Department labor position at a pay rate of $17.30 per hour, effective November 8th, 2018.
To have the resolution authorizing the mayor to appoint Thomas Martin to the vacant laborer position in the refuse department. Be resolved, the mayor hereby appoints Mr. Thomas Martin to the vacant laborer position within the refuse department at a pay rate of $17.30 per hour starting November 8th, 2018. Thomas Martin is approved by the Rockland County Department of Personnel. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye.
I am requesting authorization to issue a purchase order to Pittengarrow and Deutsch Consulting Engineers, PC, in the amount of $3,200 to update the water system vulnerability assessment and emergency response plan, and to prepare a water system cybersecurity plan as required by the New York State Department of Health per New York State Public Health Law 11.25.
Okay, I have the resolution authorizing Pittengarrow and Deutsch Consulting Engineers to update the vulnerability assessment and emergency response plan and prepare a water system cybersecurity plan. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I am requesting the mayor to appoint Mr. Michael Auxon to a seasonal labor position effective November 8th, 2018, at a pay rate of $15 per hour.
Okay, I have a resolution appointing Michael Augustin as seasonal laborer effective November 8th, 2018, at a pay rate of $15 per hour. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Have a second? All in favor? Aye.
am requesting authorization to establish 3 laborer positions.
Okay, I have a resolution establishing the position of, oh no, excuse me. I have a resolution establishing 3 positions of laborer in the Department of Public Works. Be it resolved, Village Board establishes 3 positions of laborer effective November 8th, 2018, pending approval by the Rockland County Department of Personnel. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay, just like to provide an update, the New York State DOT, last, I guess it was a week and a half ago, came in on Wayne Avenue, the section west of the thruway overpass in the westbound lane. They came in and milled and repaved the section that was defective. So that was done about a week and a half ago. And we currently we have a contractor that we're trying to schedule within the next week or so to do crosswalks on Washington Avenue. That'd be at East Maltby, near All Souls Community Church, and at East Maple, near St. Mary's Church.
Does that also include the striping, the
We also
line?
have- Yes, we also have, as part of that work, would include park stall striping, parallel parking stall striping.
Right.
And that'd be on Washington, there's 50 stalls there. Essex Lane, 18, Milford Lane, 53 stalls, Bon Air Circle, 52 stalls, and Bon Air Circle West, 22 stalls.
We're getting a lot of positive feedback on that. It seems to control the parking and gives the, actually control parking and then control the traffic lane on Washington. Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's it, thank you.
I'd like to approve the minutes of the October 1st board meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to accept the October 1st board meeting minutes?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I have a motion to accept special meeting of the Village Board of Trustees, Monday, October 15th. I have a motion? Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Minutes accepted. Next, I have a resolution authorizing NBC Studios to conduct filming activities in the Village of Suffern, November 19th through November 21st, 2018. Resolve the Board of Trustees hereby approves the permit for NBC Studios to film Manifest with filming activities taking place in the Central Business District Monday, November 19th through Wednesday, November 21st, 2018, between the hours of 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. Be it further resolved, the Deputy Village Clerk Treasurer is authorized to sign the permit application authorizing NBC Studios to conduct film activities. The board specifically grants an extension on the time limitations as noted in 76-4, Rules and Regulations, Section F of Local Law 4, 2017. Be it further resolved, the approval of this permit is subject to the submission of all required documentation and review of the same by the Village of Suffern attorney, and payment of fees, all is provided in for local law number 4, 2017. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. The update on the PBA contract, we're still currently, we will be wrapping up negotiations with the PBA contract. That was a long period of time that we've been working on that, and they were here before, but I thank them for their patience and working through it with me. Thank you, PBA. Chief's here, but he's not PBA, you can tell him.
I'll be later, miss.
Update, letters of intent for FEMA acquisition and elevation grants on behalf of Squires Gate residents were submitted on October 23rd to the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services. And right now, I'd like to make a motion to go into an executive session in regards to contract negotiations. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Keep in mind that there'll be no vote on any of the information discussed in the executive session as it relates to contract negotiations at this time. And we will reconvene.
Will there be a vote after you exit executive session?
No, there will be no vote after executive session. Okay, so if you'd like to stay, feel free, we'll be back. Make a motion to exit executive session at 8:53. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to re-enter.
Motion to re-enter the regular meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Thank you.